Rotoworld headlines.
Yeah.
First,
Speaking of darkness.
Let's go back into the darkness now, into Matt Eberflus and the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
One of the darker teams at the moment. They got a pretty dark fantasy situation.
Yeah, that would have been a better movie for Nick Cage to just kill a bunch of people in his bear.
Bear?
Instead of pig.
Let's get him playing quarterback. The Chicago Bears playing that offensive line.
How bad could he be?
Yeah, so Matt Eberflus said that the Bears will ride the hot hand at running back between David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. So the question becomes, what are you doing with this backfield?
Yeah, I will drink to that. I think we're supposed to set up. We forgot, but because neither of us are professional hosts, and by neither of us, I really mean you. We were supposed to set it up that we were going to do a little bit here, because again, happy hour, we're in a bar, we're all drinking. Would we drink to that? If we'll set a premise here under our Rotoworld headlines segment here. We'll set a premise. Will you drink to this? And so Eberflus saying they're going to go with the hot hand at running back, and for me, I will sort of buy that. I think Khalil. I understand the numbers don't totally suggest this. In terms of their usage so far, but I think Khalil Herbert is the better running back. From the eye test, by the way, he's got a higher yards per carry average. He's got more yards after contact. Like if you see the seasonal stats here on your screen, you'll see that David Montgomery certainly has more counting numbers. In terms of it's certainly much more used in the receiving game, but like almost 2-to-1 in terms of the rushing yards for Herbert. They've had basically the same number of rush attempts there. Khalil Herbert certainly is the better fantasy player based on the same number of rush attempts and yet 5 less receptions for Herbert. I think Eberflus is sitting there going I got to do something. I got to figure this out. Even for him, he's kind of oh, wow, we're not good. That's clue, 6 weeks into the season. I think he's got it figured out. So I am willing to drink to this.
Are they both flex guys, both low-end flex guys at the moment? You just have to grit your teeth and probably start both of them?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably still, ranking Montgomery ahead of Herbert. That's what I did this week. But I do think, Herbert needs to be rostered in every league because there's just such massive upside here. You don't love them on the road this week, Monday night at New England. You've been able to run in New England, but the defense looks so bad, and Belichick against Fields just doesn't feel like a fair fight at this point.
No.
So I think both are shaky flex plays in week number 7. But I do think that I'm buying the statement here that it is not the Montgomery show and then Herbert's an insurance back, that on a week-to-week basis it could be either one of them. So I think this is more about lowering Montgomery's value than it is necessarily having a role for Herbert that you feel good about starting him.
Yep. Keenan Allen, who's been dealing with a hamstring injury for what feels like eternity, is allegedly on pace to return this week. So returning to the gimmick, are you drinking to that Keenan Allen is a guy that you're comfortable putting in your lineup?
Sure, you had me at Seattle. I mean, no team in the NFL allows more yards per reception to the slot than the Seattle Seahawks. They've allowed 4 touchdowns. That's tied for the 4th most. They give up a ton of yards, over 15 yards per reception. Obviously, Allen plays the slot here. So, yeah, full steam ahead. Allen's out there. If Allen's out there for the Chargers, he's out there for me. I'm as a wide receiver 2 because I still think the touchdowns are more likely to go to Mike Williams. But, right, he comes in at wide receiver 15 in my initial Week 7 ranks.
Yep,
I will drink to that.
Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, just 2 guys that you just have to start. I don't know we need to come up with a line or a name for what the line is among guys who are just so talented you have to start. I think it's probably the Deontay line. Maybe the Amari Cooper line, but Mike Williams.
That's a good one. That's a good suggestion. Please tweet us at use the hashtag FFHappyHour and tweet at Matthew Berry TMR, at CroucherJD, and tell us who you think that line should be. Because it used to be I used to do an old baseball podcast. Longtime fans remember this. I used to do a baseball podcast, and it was the Wandy Rodriguez line, the Wandy line.
Yeah.
Right, Wandy Rodriguez.
I remember Wandy Rodriguez.
Yeah, Wandy Rodriguez was always just good enough. And if you're below the Wandy line, you're out.
Like Jeff Suppan?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the Wandy line. We need a new who that person is. Deontay's a little bit too good.
Too good? Yeah.
Brandon Cooks maybe. I don't know. It also needs to be kind of a funny line. So funny name. So
that's the thing. Is the Mike Williams line doesn't work.
No,
it's not identifiable. The Mike line doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. Neither does the Courtland Sutton line.
No.
Anyway.
So maybe it's the Michael Gallup line. And
maybe
Dak Prescott is determined to play in Week 7 against the Lions. The betting line for this game is Cowboys -7. So the BetMGM, they think that he is going to play. So are you drinking to Dak Prescott should be started against the Lions in Week 7? If he plays, I assume you are.
Yeah, I mean, he's my sixth best quarterback this week. Again, you had me at the Lions here. No team in the NFL just gives it up the way the Detroit Lions do. 4 of the 5 quarterbacks they've faced this year, Detroit, have had at least 18 fantasy points. They're giving up 22.5 fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks. You think about, this offense coming off of the bye. The Detroit Lions coming off of the bye. I think they'll be prepared for Dallas. I think they'll be able to move the ball somewhat. Maybe, I'm still taking the Cowboys to win this one. But, yeah, I mean, I think Dak coming back into this game with a matchup, he's going to want to sort of show off a little bit. Like, they're not bringing him back just to hand off and be conservative.
Yeah.
So I do think it's a big game for Dak in his return to a Lions defense that's bottom 7 in the NFL in terms of most passing yards allowed per game over the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, I think the Lions can prepare for Dallas. Like, if I was playing against the Cowboys, I could prepare to defend CeeDee Lamb. I'm not sure it's going to really matter, though.
No.
That is a bad defense with not much ceiling at the moment. Okay, the last headline is around Desean Jackson, who has been signed by the Ravens to the practice squad. Are you drinking to Desean Jackson being fantasy relevant? I'm going to bet on sobriety.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I will not say L'chaim to Desean Jackson returning to the NFL or Baltimore. Whatever.
He had
whatevs.
He had two 90-yard receiving. He had 2 more 90-yard receiving games than DeAndre Hopkins did last year. But it's just going to be dependent on the deep ball. And the issue is that Rashad Bateman is barely startable, and he's a much better version of Desean Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, so the last time he was a top 30 wide receiver was 2018.
Okay, it's a long time ago.
Now, he's on the field with Lamar Jackson. Could Lamar Jackson chuck it deep and he comes down with it and has a 60-yard touchdown pass? Sure, of course. He's got big playability in theory. But, right, to your point, Bateman's barely startable. He's a much better player. Duvernay feels like he's a better bet for consistent fantasy production than Desean Jackson. Obviously, you have Mark Andrews. So now, even before you get to the running backs, he's the 4th receiving option on a team that is, somewhat balanced on offense. He's a name, but this is something that you can ignore because the idea is you'll never know exactly when to start Desean Jackson. So no, thank you.
Yeah, I think we talked about it yesterday, but it is insane that between the Chiefs and the Ravens, there's only 4 guys that you want to start. And this Baltimore offense, which is really, it's heliocentric. It's just all Lamar Jackson. He accounts for an insane amount of their total
yards. What does heliocentric mean?
It's like an NBA thing that slipped in. It's when it all revolves around one person. So Luka Doncic is heliocentric. I think Lamar Jackson is the same.
So on this show, I'm
Here we go.
heliocentric.
Yeah, you're heliocentric.
I am,
yeah,
right?
You're the Luka Doncic.
I am. Fair, obviously. Show's called Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry. Heliocentric.
Yeah, you
How
like
about
that?
heliocentric with Matthew Berry? I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, fair enough.
It's you and Lamar Jackson.
Pretty much.
And everything is just, it's Lamar
Both of us
and
playing
Mark
for a
Andrews.
contract this year.
Yeah, exactly. Lamar might be on a new team next year, just like
me.
Just like you.
Whatever. After 15 years, I left ESPN. Who knows? NBC could be like, yeah, we're done with you. Oh, we don't know what we bought. We're out. We're out. We're peacing out.
Okay.
By the way, wouldn't blame NBC. I would totally I get it. I sold you a bill of goods.
Yeah, maybe there'll be a at Matthew Berry TMR tweet similar to what Rashad Bateman tweeted yesterday before deleting it. Just a little lol.
Yeah, LOL.
Yeah, I wonder what that was in relation
almost
to.
1,800 likes.
Before he deleted it.
Before he deleted that very quickly. Have to assume that was based on him watching our show. He finds it enjoyable. We're a funny show. Or him having this. Let me put it this way. I had that reaction to the Ravens signing Desean Jackson. It wouldn't surprise me if other people did as well, including perhaps Mr. Bateman.
I think that's reasonable. Okay, we're going to go to break. When we come back, keep it open or close it out with Denny Carter.
Yeah, more drinking. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.